Scared about what, bruv? I've gone through it. I held my baby's coffin like this. There's a cost to riding out with your brethren. There's a cost to carrying a knife. Reframe the story, bro. It's in our control. It's okay to fail. It's okay. Unfulfilled purposes.
Okay, so
Sound good? Everything good?
yep. So if you could just tell us who you are, a little bit about what you do, where you've grown up, and then what was it like?
Okay. Name's Dr. Mark Prince, OBE. Who am I? I'm a child of the King. I'm passionate about life, especially young people's lives. I'm passionate about truth and sharing the truth about life with young people, the area of their purpose, the qualities and leadership qualities that they have within them. And I feel that my purpose is to free that oppression that I feel is within this system and our society that prevents people from being everything that they were made to be. And that's why we have a lot of the problems that we have currently with young people feeling less than, feeling disenfranchised, getting into crime and not fulfilling their own purpose and their gifts in life for their chase after money and the things of this world. So my purpose, I feel like my purpose is to enlighten, to shed light and to shed love in a dark place. Because when I look at this planet and how things are and how people treat each other, it can be seen as a pretty dark place. So we need more light in this dark place. So that's my job, and I do it through the Kian Prince Foundation. I shed that light and shed that love through the Kian Prince Foundation, and that's an organization in my son's name, because sadly my son was taken from us by someone with that mindset who didn't understand his purpose, didn't have no light in his life, and took my son's life. And my son had plenty of light, plenty of love, plenty of goodness, and understood his purpose. And that was because that was shared with him, the truth was shared with him, who he is, why he's here. And I come from the roads, we call it the roads. Tottenham, Wood Green is my haunt, my area, North London, I know very well, even though I'm well versed all around the ends now, south, east, west as well. I'm well versed and known, but that's my area that I grew up in. And growing up was very difficult. But it's funny because when you're poor and you've got a lot of hurt going on in your home, and you start realizing that the world's can be quite cruel because you got grown men in uniform picking on you, going through your bags, accusing you of doing things, and you're like 8, 9 years old, and all you've been told by your mum is to go and get a bag of sugar and whatever at the shops. And then you got guys driving past in cars shouting nigger, wog, go back to your country. You kind of start creating or seeing the world in a different way. Because as a kid, you grow up just thinking everyone's cool and you love everyone, it's about playing and you play with anyone. You don't ask the kid where he's from. You just says, here's another human being, you want to play with him and you want to have fun. You accept him, you don't care what color his skin is, you don't care what religion he is, that's of no interest. You see him as another human being and you connect. And we begin to lose that as we get a little bit older and grow up, because the world's teaching us from a child different things about ourselves and about how to see people. So I began to change, my mindset began to change, and I began to learn that people of different color saw me in a lesser light than they saw themselves. They saw me as a criminal when I was a child. They saw me as aggressive when I just wanted to ask questions. They saw me as troublesome when I didn't do what I was told. So I began to learn that this country, this life that I'm living, is very different to how I was thinking that it was growing up. So there was hurt outside the house, because you go out, you go into school and you get treated differently than the other kids. My generation was the 70s and 80s, growing up through the school system. And you still got cane in the 70s, and I got the cane. And teachers could be blatantly racist and get away with it, way easier. It's more disguised now. It's more of a system set up thing where you can disguise, disproportionate amount of young black men are getting expelled from school. That's a lot harder to be able to say that you're being racist, but it's the same, it's no different. But I faced a lot of that at school, where you was being treated differently than the other kids. You get told off and in a harsher manner for misdemeanors, where your compatriots, my mate Mark Kelly, I don't forget him, he was my best mate at school, this white guy, and I hope he's listening. How you doing, Mark Kelly? Hope you're well. I haven't seen him for donkeys, so I hope he's alive and well. But Mark Kelly was my good mate. I remember going to his house and he showed me his toy set, his train track, and I'll be like, whoa, man, this guy must be rich. Because in my house, you made up games. We pretended we were Bionic Man. Dun, 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 dun. We'd be, we created games like the banister was the horse. So I'd be at the top of the banister, quite dangerous because you could drop down the stairs, and we just had fun. But we didn't look at it like we were poor. We didn't look at it like we didn't have. We just had fun. So going to my friend's house and seeing how he lived, you kind of started getting a different idea, like what, these are other people are living and stuff like that. And even growing up, and unfortunately my dad had his own issues. He was a great dad, but he had his own issues, and dealing with his kids with discipline meant for my dad, it wasn't about talking and teaching, it was about expressing dominance by using the belt to whip you. And now as you grow, you understand that he must have had his own issues, and a lot of people, white people don't understand about our culture, that it comes from, some people say, yeah, get over it, slavery happened years ago. How do you get over something that's embedded into your culture for years ago? Willie Lynch's culture is about, us being less than, and you got little children, little white children, you have to call them massa. So if you got that mentality and all you've done is being beaten, obviously you see yourself as less than, you take that on board, so you begin to beat your children, and you think that's the way that you discipline them. So there's been a lot of behaviors that we've taken from slavery into the generations moving forward, and that was one of them, beating your kids really aggressively. And my dad was that, and used to leave, strip marks on your back. We used to call it horseshoe, and it was quite traumatic, being in the house. It was somewhere that, you started to wonder as you got older, in 11, 12, 13. You start thinking of ways like, why here? Why have I got this life? Why am I born into this family? Why am I? You weren't allowed out, you had to go straight from school, straight home, lunchtime, everyone was eating their lunch, you shot home. I used to run all the way home because I didn't want to miss out the fun, eat my lunch, which was just a bowl of porridge and a bit of homemade bread, and then run back to school within that hour, so you didn't miss out on the school fights, the one bounce beats, the violent football, because one bounce beats is about if the ball bounces more than once, then everyone playing football just steams you and starts kicking the shit out of you. So that was our fun back then. They're more PC now, so that fun's you wouldn't be having that kind of fun now. But what don't kill you make you stronger. And a couple of boys ended up getting hospital. Patrick went to hospital with his broken arm, and some other guy got really hurt. I think twice the ambulance had to come down. But yeah, that was growing up. That was growing up at home. That was growing up at school, and that kind of gives a little bit of a picture into my life. And mentally, you don't really understand what's happening to you through that. Because what's happening is that you formulate a story in your mind about who you are, your self-beliefs being developed, your self-esteem is being developed throughout this time. And depending what your character's like, will differentiate how you end up or turn out throughout that childhood process, being beaten, racism outside the house on a regular basis. How do you turn out? Who do you become because of that? So how do you process it? And every human mind is different. So, obviously I process it maybe a bit different from my two brothers. I've got one younger brother, one older brother, Clarence, and my younger brother, Colin. Colin ended up being a kickboxing champion, amateur champion, and a British cruiserweight kickboxing champion. My older brother, he's a really lovely guy. He works to help people get into jobs and employment, does consultancy work, and he loved boxing. He was probably my biggest boxing fan, and he was probably one of the best guys to spar with in the gym, but never transitioned into taking it into professional boxing. Always said that the discipline, the hard work, he couldn't manage that. But sparring wise, he had the fastest hands. He was amazing. He had a couple of amateur fights and people be like, whoa, but nerves always got the better of him. So he preferred to stay out of it. So growing up with my two brothers, growing up with my oldest sister, she was the oldest. We never got on that well growing up. I used to call her the grass. She used to always grass us up. And when she grassed us up, we'd get beaten. So we had this relationship. We was always getting at each other. Obviously now you grow up, you're really close. But that was life growing up at home, mum and dad. My mum was absolutely awesome, so calm, so chilled, always trying to save us from my dad. But my dad was such a hard disciplinarian, and the way that he fought women was less than and had a role, and he was the man, and he ruled, and he didn't understand that being the man of the house meant that you ensured that the love and peace stayed within your home. As the man of the house, you create and ensure that your children are safe, your wife's safe, and they're in a loving environment. And my dad didn't understand that. And obviously poor him, because he had all that background knowledge and what he'd learned from his past, and his mum beating him and sending him in the river when he come up in Guyana where there's snakes, crocodiles, and to send your kid in the river, that's insane, but that's what his mum used to do with him. And so my dad's gone through a lot himself, and it's just a pity he ain't around now where we could talk more, we could go through this process, because obviously I've gone through a process of growth where I got to learn and understand things better. I was able to forgive him before he died, sadly at the age of 64, pretty early. He was an ex-fighter. He done really well over in this country. In fact, it's funny because Eric, who was the matchmaker for Ernie Fossey, Ernie Fossey, the late great Ernie Fossey, awesome matchmaker for Frank Warren. And he told me about my dad. He said, I knew your dad. He had a terrific left hook. He was a really good fighter. He used to stop a lot of the guys in the gym, champions as well. He caused a lot of problems, but obviously being in this country, you know, as a black fighter, they weren't the looked after fighters. They weren't the fighters that got the first, you know, choice to take care of and build their careers. So my dad got a lot of short notice phone calls and stuff like that, and he weren't ready but needed the money, so would take the fight.
You
So yeah,
you ended up obviously lived your life, but you ended up
Yeah.
leaving home quite early at 15.
Yeah.
And then obviously you spent some time in the streets, got involved in some stuff you shouldn't have got involved in, and then you managed to kind of turn your life around.
yeah.
What was it like when you was on the streets? How did you feel?
Scary. I was brought up always in the house. You know, you ask your mum and dad, oh, there's a party going on, there's a school this, there's a school trip to Pendarren. No. Everything was no. So I weren't used to being out. So all of a sudden I run away from home and now I'm out. So you remember the stories I used to have my parents talking to me about, be careful, if somebody drives up and invites you in the car, tries to offer you sweets, run. So I had all those stories and mindset in my house, and it had happened to me. It happened to me at primary school. I still remember vividly the white van rolling up. Come on, I'll give you a lift home. You know, here's some sweets. And I'd done what my mum said, just run, don't talk, run. So it happened to me on other occasions as well. I clearly remember the bigger van, transit van, roll up to me on the way, and I ran like the wind, mate. Because you know, someone could just open a door and grab you and whatever, so you legged it. So then you heard a lot about social services and kids being abused and going into homes, and I did not want no part of that. So I found myself just like ducking and diving, sleeping where there was quiet, or not sleeping at all, walking the streets, sleeping at my mates, sleeping in a car, sleeping in my friend's car. The Christian family, my friends were really awesome. They allowed me to stay at their house a lot of times, so that was a great place, and I'm always so grateful for them for that. They helped me out a lot. I met a guy named Will Dowden that used to be a social worker, but my friend who was out on the road, who was a real road man, who was always bunning weed, getting into stuff on the streets, robberies, whatever, he was in care, and he said, go and talk to this black guy. He really looks after kids and he's someone you can trust. And obviously back then, the 60s, late 80s, there weren't very many black people in social services. So it was comforting to have someone like that, the face that I could kind of relate to, and somebody who understood my background and culture. And I'll never forget, he said, you're different. He goes, you're not like a lot of the other children that I work with and help. Said, you're a really nice guy. And he always went out of his way to do everything he could to help me, because he said I weren't just trying to get money out of him. I was never trying to get something out of him. And he helped me to get a flat by the time I was, I think, 17. I got a flat, and he got me into a foster home. And it was funny because when I went to the foster home, the guy that was there was a trainer for Islington Boys Club. So imagine that, it's just like boxing was calling me a long time ago. So my dad's a fighter, he trained me and made me spar with him and my older brother. Then I ran away from home, and then the foster home I go so happens to have a guy that's a trainer at Islington Boys Club. So he obviously tried to get kids into boxing. So he tried to get me into boxing, but you know, I had no thought of being a boxer. I just thought, you know, this is how life is. Dad told me, I'm going to teach you how to fight, because out there you're going to face problems and you got to learn to take care of yourself. So that's what Dad done. So I was using my skills for that. So people by that age, people knew me, that Prince, boy, he can throw hands. And so when he talked to me about the club, I went down there. I thought, all right, let me see what it's like, because I've never been to a boxing gym in my life. I was 16 by the time I linked up with them at the foster home. So I went down to the gym. It was cool. And so I thought, let me go back again. But by then, guys had introduced me to weed and drinking. So it was just the one thing I never thought I'd ever do, because I used to go at the school, back of the school hut, to the kids that used to smoke cigarettes, and I used to pretend I was smoking a cigarette, take it off and drop it on the floor, crush it, and say, stop smoking, it's not good for you. And because they knew I could throw hands, they, even though they were angry as hell, like, you taking my last cigarette? They knew they couldn't do anything because I'll bang them up. So I used to get away with shit like that. But now, you see, now I'm 16, I'm out on the streets, I'm starting to smoke weed. And I was drinking tennis. I remember going down, this is so mad. I went down to Islington Boys Club and I had a tin of Kestrel or Tennent's on me that I was drinking, and I was stupid enough to go into the club with it. They went nuts, saw me get pissed off out of here, that's not how we do things in here, blah, blah, blah. And I just thought, all right then, you know, whatever, mate. So I went, and I never went back. Never went back to Islington. So I could have been an Islington Boys Club fighter as an amateur from 16 years old. But from then till 21, I got deeper into more drugs, got deeper into crime, and just got myself into problems, got a criminal record, really established myself sort of on the streets. But I was all about making money, really. I wasn't all about trying to join a gang. I didn't want to be a bad man, none of that. I wanted to aspire, because when I left home, it's funny because I had this feeling about myself as a kid. I can't miss this out because it's really important. When I was really young, I don't know why, but I just had this feeling about me. I remember my mum used to take us to church, and I used to look at the guy on the front, on the rostrum, preaching. And I used to feel like that was where I was gonna be. And I used to always imagine myself on the rostrum speaking to the people. This happened a lot when I was young, but didn't know what that was about. I just had this feeling and just felt like I was gonna be someone. I remember there was this song by Atlantic Star called Silver Shadow. And the words were always talking about that you are a special light, and I loved the song, and you were gonna be someone, and it just kind of drew me, and I'd rewind it, and these times I'd run away from home, someone put me up on their settee, and I clearly remember rewinding this song and loving it every day I played it. But little did I know my future. But looking back, I realized the significance of the song. The thoughts when I was sitting down as a kid, looking at the guy at the top speaking. So I'm saying that because there's other kids out there that have got thoughts and dreams and maybe aspirations of becoming, but they could be shaped and told that you can't do this, you can't achieve that, you can't do that, and it gets stolen off them through that process. And I'm just here to let them know, hold on to that. Don't matter what goes on and what shit you find yourself involved in, don't let go of that. Because going through my crime, going through the drugs, going through that process, I ended up at 21, 6 years of madness. And I call it that for a reason, because I didn't know who I was. I didn't know my purpose, and I didn't know where I was going, and I didn't know that I had potential and great gifts. And I believe every single individual has been made with purpose. That's got purpose. The chair we're sitting on, everything's made with purpose. So how can the greatest thing God made not have purpose? Me and you. God's gift of life is me and you. And how can that not have purpose? So I know that we all have got special gifts. So at 21, after spending a night of just taking drugs, I must have been on the pipe with my mates, and I just felt that my life, where's it going? I began to ask myself questions, like, what's going on with you, P? This is not what you had dreamt about when you was a kid. This is not what you wanted. You're letting your mum down, because obviously my relationship with my dad wasn't the best. We talked, but it weren't the best. And my relationship with my mum was always special, always tight. She was the one that stayed up late crying, praying for me, asking God to keep me safe. So I'd always check my mum. Even if my dad didn't allow me in the house, I'd wait for her at the end of the road. When she came out, I'd see her. So we get to talk. So I had this moment, this very changing moment in my life where I thought about me and I thought about my future. And every young person needs to have this moment where they think about themselves. Forget your friends, forget your ends, forget your postcode. You got no connection with that, bro. The connection is why you're on this planet. And you got to ask yourself the question, what are you here for, to do? What impact are you here to make? Because we're all here to make positive impact. And when I answered those questions, I realized I have to turn away from drugs. I have to turn away from crime. I have to stop shotting, because I can't proudly tell my mum what I do to make money. How do I dress myself? How do I take care of my children? Because by 21, I had Tanisa and Kyan. And my kids meant the world to me, And I wanted to be a good dad. I wanted to be a good dad. Why? Because I had a volatile relationship with my dad, and my dad taught me what not to be, how not to deal with your kids. So now I had this new thought in my head that I could be someone away from the roads, away from crime, away from the usual people that I move with, and I could take charge of my life and I could create something different for myself. And I knew how hard that was gonna be, and it was scary, but I didn't think about it too deeply, because if you do, you'll run off, you'll run away, you'll turn from it, you'll find excuses why you're not gonna be able to do it. So I would always, because of that lesson I've learned, I will always say to people, if you feel that you can do something, don't think about how. Don't think about what you're doing currently and how you're gonna stop. Just decide what you're gonna do. The answers will come. And I decided that I've got to get away from all of this bullshit, and I've got to make something of myself. I just decided that I want to fight. I don't know why, probably based on the fact that I didn't believe that at the time I was smart enough to go uni and had the time to go uni and earn money and look after my kids. I didn't believe in that journey. What I did believe is that I could go down the route of boxing and in getting paid to fight, and then being able to have a work to look after my children. I did believe that. So because I did believe that, I began this journey of what do fighters do? They go running. Okay, I gotta go running. What else? They go to the gym. I gotta go to the gym. I gotta train hard. I gotta watch film clips of them. I gotta immerse myself into becoming this person. And then the discipline of it started, coming into play. Like, wow, what level of this? Because it's not like I knew everything before I made the decision. I didn't. I just said I'm gonna do it. Obviously, you got an idea of what it takes to be a boxer, but you really have no idea until you begin. So I didn't realize that I really loved smoking weed that much until it was time to stop. I think it was easier for me to stop going out, sucking on a crack pipe with certain men, stop taking E's, stop taking acid tabs, because they were harder, stronger, and more damaging, sniffing and stuff like that. So it was like somehow I managed to just cut that. Like, that's dead to me, because there's no way that I can become a great fighter sniffing, taking drugs. So that was gone. The weed, I had to wean myself off neatly and do it differently. So instead of smoking how many spliffs throughout the day, I would decide to have one and try and make it last. My friends would laugh at me. What are you putting the spliff out for? Because I'm starting running now. And the more I ran, and the more I realized I was dead and I was vomiting and couldn't, do one lap. And then it turned to doing one lap and doing two and doing three, is the more I valued my fitness and the more I didn't want to spoil it by smoking.
Can you talk me through that feeling of like when you're throwing up and you can't go again? What's it feel like? How do you push yourself through that feeling? Because it's not easy. The routine and discipline come into play.
Yeah, I think that your want and need and desire to achieve your goal has to be stronger than everything else that comes against you. So what was happening, whatever was going on with me that was horrible, that made me uncomfortable, that I didn't like, and what you hear people say, oh, that's too hard. Everything that made me feel like that, I would envision my end goal. And I would realize that, are you gonna allow this to get in the way of the pleasure of reaching this goal? And every time I had that thought, I would keep going. Every time when I was running and I felt like everything just said, you need to stop now. And I'd say, yeah, but I set that target down there. I knew that if I reached that target, the feeling I was gonna get to reach the goal that I'd set was gonna develop me and build me up. So I just kept going, and I knew that I was building something in me that was becoming strong and mighty. And even though I didn't know how good, I just knew there was something in me that said, this is better than what you've currently got. And to get what you want, you're gonna have to go through this pain, these feelings of disgust and giving up, because your body feels like it actually physically can't do anything else. It can't do no more. It's telling you, stop, I don't wanna take another step. I can't breathe, I feel sick. And you just keep going, because the worst thing you're gonna happen is you're gonna vomit. And keep going. The worst thing happens, you're gonna seize up, get cramp. But it doesn't say you can't keep going. Nothing says that. And then you can find out what you're made of. And through these daily exercises, I was finding out that, wow, I got a lot of belief in me. Like, I can do this. And then every hurdle that I jumped over that said you can't do it made me a bit more stronger. So I was becoming stronger every day, and there was less weed, then there was less company or being around the guys that kept me on the roads. And my very spirit and soul demanded that I be around guys with the same vision as mine. So my company started to expand. I began to be around other fighters. I met a guy named Cham Juf, CJ. The Wild African. He won the Southern Area title as a lightweight back in the 90s, the early 90s. Me and him became really close. So now I had somebody else away from my normal haunts. My best mate, Richie Craigie, Kevin. I had loads of guys that I was around. Mark Grant, who's we nicknamed Slider. These are the guys that I was kind of around, but I was affecting their lives because they saw me coming away from the roads and crime and saw me getting into boxing. So that was like whoa, what's going on here? And even though people on the roads, the word was like, how can you box, bro? You're a ganja baby. All you do is smoke weed. How can you box? Even though it was negative, I knew that my friends saw that belief that I was definitely going to do this. And then when you invite them to my first fight, which was phenomenal, I've got it on a CD somewhere. My first fight, crazy. Put me against this guy that was undefeated in 7 fights. It was a beast, had legs like this. 2 of my legs made one of his, strong. And he just chased me. And all I used was my belief in myself and my ability. And I had this thing in me, I cannot lose this fight. Whatever you do in this fight tonight, I would rather die than lose. And I boxed going back. I was so thankful that I had this gift of boxing going backwards. I could knock you out and throw right hands, walking back, dancing back. And I realized later on that this wasn't something that was a norm in boxing, moving and being able to throw punches at the same time while you're moving. But this was natural to me because I've been doing this from I was a kid. So that's what won me the fight. And my heart, that when he really pressed me, because I was finished from round 1, there was nothing left. My chest was burning. I'll never forget this burning feeling in my chest. It was like a lighter was on my chest, bro. And it was round 1, and I remember my legs was doing all funny stuff, walking back to the corner. And I thought, shit, I've got another 2 rounds, 6 minutes of this, I'm already done. I'd had sex the night before, so I broke the golden rule. So I'd already screwed up. So I knew I was just screwed in every way, shape or form. So all I had was this belief that was going to push me to make my body do something that physically was telling me that I can't do this. I can't go for another 6 minutes throwing punches and dancing. But your mind.
Do you strongly believe that when your body's saying that you can't go anymore, how much more is left after that point?
You'll find out when you push yourself more. That's the only time you find out. Because I listen to other guys who have achieved and done great things, whether they've been runners, athletes, businessmen, and they believe that their bodies and minds or other people set a standard and a limit for them. But I think we don't realize as human beings that we're limitless. In terms of mentally, spiritually, we can achieve stuff way beyond what we imagine. We've been conditioned on this, with this system, to believe that we're just here to get up, we grow up, we get a job, we die, we're in the great, it's over. We retire, we do all this rubbish, and that's it. We're not taught that we're amazing, we're powerful, we're intelligent way beyond our belief. We're not brought up in school. That wasn't taught to me in school. That Prince, even if you don't do that well at your exams, that doesn't distinguish you and set your bar for what you can achieve. It's your mind, the power of your mind and your belief that allows you to set the standards for yourself. So I was now in an area where I began to set my own standards, and training allowed me to do that, because in my own head, I was the boss now. And when I was out running, or I was in the gym punching the bag, or when I was doing groundwork and press-ups, it was like I heard Ali say, I started counting when I got tired. I started counting when I felt the pain. So the other stuff I'd done didn't count when I felt good. It didn't count. What counted was when I was tired. So now I was facing that in reality in a fight. And what counted was these 2 rounds, because I'd spent myself in the first round. I was done in 3 minutes. Now I've got 6 more minutes. What are you made of, P? And I showed myself. And I wouldn't let this guy get the better of me. I wouldn't let him take over the fight. Every time his strength, which he seemed stronger than me, was gonna pin me in a corner, I'd just hold him. And the ref would break us up. Then I'll be the first to punch, and then when he punched, I punched. So if I started first, I'd finish last. If he started first, I'd finish last. So I was always showing the judges that I'm the man, I'm in charge, and the fight went my way, and it really showed me something about me, And I think to really give you a picture of what helped me along my journey, because we need help. I remember my first sparring partner was Michael Watson. And Michael, after sparring, came to me and said, you're going to be a champion one day. And what that does for a kid who's just come from the roads and been homeless, it does immense things for your psychological, framework, how you're feeling, because this is a guy that I found out that had been Commonwealth champ, was fighting. He'd fought Nigel Benn, he'd beaten him. Or did he fight him after? No, I think he fought him already, because soon after he was fighting Eubank. He had the 2 fights of Eubank. So I knew him for the first fight and the second fight. So for him to tell me, you're going to be a champ, because in the 3rd round of our boxing, he had to start going to my body to slow me down and break me up, because he said you were giving me kittens in the first 2 rounds. Because I found it hard to settle you down and get you where I wanted. So because I know you've got a brain for boxing, because you're going to be champ. So that helped me along my journey. So whatever people said to me, didn't care. We got to block that shit out. There's always someone who don't believe in your vision. They don't matter. It could be parents, it could be your closest friends. They don't matter. All that matters is what you believe, what you think of yourself. So you got to create your own story. You got to create your own vision. You got to create your own plan, and then you got to be the boss. We are the boss of our own lives, our own destiny, everything. So I went for it, and I went for it every time I fought. I went for it every time I went running. I went for it every time I went in the gym. I went for it. I gave 100%. Because I knew if I done it then, if you put me in the spotlight, I'm going to do it there. Because I'm doing it behind the scenes when no one's watching me. I'm giving 100% when no eyes are on me. I could get away with giving up when I'm tired. I done my groundwork. I done my sit-ups. I done my press-ups. I went running, but no one knows I didn't give 100% when I went running. They just know I went running. My trainer could ask me, did you go run this morning? Yeah, bro. But I know I gave 100% when I went running, and I left nothing out there. So when I go into fights, bro, you got to finish me off. You got to put me to sleep to beat me. That's the only way. I'll accept it. I'll accept the loss, but I know I'm sleeping. Because as long as I can breathe and as long as my eyes can open, I'm getting up.
One thing I want to ask you, and you kind of spoke about it already before, is obviously you're going to have people who doubt you. You got into boxing late. A lot of people would have doubted you, but you had a mad amount of self-belief. So you obviously have these doubters on one hand, but then you have your self-belief which drives you through.
Yeah.
How do you combat these doubters, and how do you get this self-belief, and how important is that self-belief to kind of drive you forward to be successful?
First, I'll tell you how you combat the doubters. And then I'll tell you where the belief came from. I was in the gym skipping. I was training for Monty Wright, who was tipped to win the ABAs, and it was the London semi-finals. And that was where they said my journey ended. They said, you done really well. When I say they, I'm talking about a few guys, 3 guys in particular, I don't know who they were, where they were from, came into my gym in Tottenham and was watching me. I was thinking, who are these guys watching me? Okay, that's not strange. People come into gyms and watch you. And they just all of a sudden started talking and say, yeah, you're that guy Prince, innit? So I was skipping, I just nodded, yeah. Said, yeah, you're good, man, you're good. But you see the guy you're facing, he's probably gonna win the ABAs. You can't beat him. He's represented England. They started to share his resume with me. Like I gave a shit about his resume. I did not care. I just looked at them, and after they said, yeah, you know, you're doing well, come back next year. You're gonna do better next year, but this guy's gonna stop you. I just said, he's never met me. He's never been in the ring with me. And he's gonna soon find out. That's all I said to him. He ain't met me. And these guys walked away, and I was smiling when I was skipping, because they didn't realize they made me more determined than ever. I put on the best display of my amateur career against Monty Wright. First round, Monty Wright came out low, shifting, looked really nice. But I was moving and I was jabbing and it was beautiful, and he couldn't get near me. The end of the first round, he got a bit closer. But I knew he got a bit closer, but I won that round. So because he got a bit closer in the end of the first round, I knew you're coming in closer for the second round. You're gonna build on that. Second round comes in, my man's coming right into a space that you don't need to come, because I know how to throw an uppercut. And my dad's always told me, when they bend down low, bring them up high. Bring the left hook straight across and the right hand down the pipe. And Monty Wright got that combination. As I was going back, throwing the jab, he slipped, came inside, and he really meant to slip and throw a left hook. But it was bam, 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 bam. Every single one of them hit him. Nailed him. Bro, I still got the picture. He's like a star shape, just looking up at the heavens with his eyes closed. For a split second, mate, the arena was silent. And then it broke out with all of my people. I'm sure it shocked even all my people, because they knew that was the fight, make or break. And it was my easiest fight. Do not listen to people that come and tell you that you can't do something. And my belief came from a drive that I had to go back into my earlier vision and dream of that I was someone, that I was gonna make an impact on this planet. I was here to do something. that lost thought and dream, I bought into it again. And now I got 2 kids. So now I got petrol, I got turbo boost to really ignite me. That whenever I feel like, nah, because we all got moments where we feel like, this ain't working. Because remember, I was doing run-ins, I was making money. I was a hustler and a good one. And my hustling kept my kids with loads of toys, clothes, everything. Now I'm struggling. I ain't got no money. Amateur boxing ain't paying me, but my vision kept me going. My drive, that's why I had such a short career. I tried to fast track my way through to a professional so I could start earning money. That was the goal, that was the plan. And my drive was my children. I imagined them at 7, 8, 9, 10. Dad, what'd you do? What's your job? Boom, boom, boom. And what am I gonna say, bro? What am I gonna say to my kids? What am I gonna say to my boy when he's doing the wrong things? What am I gonna tell him to do the right things when I'm not? Bro, you can't tell your kids about how to live when you're not living that life. You gotta live that life. Kids ain't listening to you. Kids are watching you, bro. Kids are watching you. They see how their parents interact. They're learning. You can say to your kids, oh, you gotta be loving to your husband or your wife. You gotta be, good to your partner. But they see you drinking, boxing up your partner, getting mad, shouting, swearing, just going nuts. The house is anarchy. You got no happiness in there, and you're trying to tell your kid how to. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. So I knew that, and I realized that I got to show my boy that he's got it in him to become anything that he can be. So I got to be it first. So my drive was always my children, my vision as a youth that I was gonna be someone. This pushed me. So you got to have a driving force, and we can all find something that will push us. And I wanted my mum to be proud of me. I love my mum to bits. You gotta understand, my mum said to my dad, he threatened that you have to abort this kid. And my mum stood up to my dad. I told you about my dad, he's not easy to stand up to. But she said, you're gonna have to leave me and I'll bring these kids up on cornmeal porridge. Cornmeal porridge is a porridge that we have in our culture a lot. So I'll bring them up on that if I have to. So basically we're saying, listen, I don't care if I'm broke, if I ain't got nothing, I'll bring my kids up and I'm gonna have this boy. I'm gonna have this kid. She didn't know whether I was a boy or a girl. So she had me, and when I learnt that story, when I got older, my mum shared it with me, obviously it made me appreciate my mum even more, because I realized, wow, I might not even have been here, so there's even more reason for me to be here. So I gotta do this, and I really wanted to make mum proud. So my life changing was beginning to see the joy on mum's face, apart from the stress that I used to see on my mum's face and the worry that she had for me. So that's where my belief came from. My belief came from my kids, my belief in myself that I could be somebody, and my mum. Those were my driving force, and I think we can all find things that will drive us. And if we've got no one in our lives, let yourself drive you. Believe in yourself.
You had a massive turnaround. You turned your life around massively. You had a great boxing career, and you spoke about one of your main your driving forces, one of your main motivations being your children. You described it as a fight that you couldn't train for, something that you couldn't prepare for, and then something happened to you which for me became very inspirational, as you managed to take something which is very negative and turn it into something positive. How much of the stuff that you learnt in the past had prepared you for what was going to happen to you with your son?
Everything. I buried my baby before Cayenne. My mum had a blood clot to her brain a year before my son died. That they said that she might not survive the operation. She had a stroke. One side was gone. My journey in becoming a fighter, turning my life around, all of these, the whole of my journey, bro. I tell you, sometimes we go through things, and people are gonna be listening to this, and they know they're gonna go through stuff, and they're gonna think, why? But you don't know the future. and the bad stuff we think have come to break us and kill us and stop us. And people mess up and want to commit suicide and end their life, and they don't know the great future that they had if they could only get through the shit that they're going through. And every bit of the shit that I went through helped me. Because even though you can't really prepare for a phone call that says your son's been stabbed, and you can't really prepare for seeing your boy on the cold hospital bed, and he's going cold. He goes from warm to cold. His lips turn from pink to blue. He goes from moving body to a stiff face, and you can't prepare for that, bro. When everything you've done, now that's my investment. I invested in his future. I invested in his life. And to see him lay there quiet and still.
It's something that if you've not been through the way that you've described it, is, to be honest.
Listen, bro, let me tell you something, yeah? I used to talk with my mates back in the day when I was on the roads, yeah? And I used to say to them, we used to just have conversations, bunning, we talking. And I remember one conversation come up about, what, you know, because a lot of my other friends had kids as well, yeah? And we'd say, what would you do if someone troubled your kids, if something happened to one of your kids, if someone violated your kids? Bro, man was swearing to go jail for life, kill the person, and I meant it, bro. I wasn't playing. I wasn't the kind of guy that would make threats and just talk and then do nothing. If I said you were gonna get banged, you were gonna get banged. And I meant every word of it. I would go inside and I'll do my bird with a smile, because you can't take one of my kids. My kids were my world. My children were my world, bro. And bro, to be one of the people that was actually in that situation, your worst nightmare that you would speak about like it would never happen to you, you'd see other people on the telly and it happened to them, but you was never gonna be that person. Even though you'd say, oh gosh, man, I feel for them, and you knew it could happen to anyone, to be honest, you never really thought it was gonna happen to you. And no one does. No one does. When they see these things, they feel sorry for people, but you never think you're next. Never. I was next. I was gonna be the next parent who was gonna be on TV talking about their child that had been stabbed to death. And wow, man, what a world I entered into, because it was plagued with demons, bro. Plagued with demons, ready to take over, and just the demon of anger, bruv, and revenge. He's a strong bastard. Whoa. He will come and take over your life and drain you. The demon of unforgiveness will take over and rinse every bit of love out of you. It will take away your personality, bruv. It will take away your joy. And I was up against these demons, bro, that was trying to take the very essence of my life away from me and my purpose. And by then, obviously, boxing had gone. I'd had an injury to my leg. I'd been out of boxing from 2000, had a really bad injury. They reconstructed my knee, and I was 19 wins and 1 loss. And I was number 1 in the WBO, and were rated in the top 10 by other governing bodies. And I was a force to be reckoned with. And then strip, my career was over, and they told me, the consultant said, you got no career. So being in that position, so 6 years into that, I'd been trying to find my place in life again. So it's almost like I'd gone back to square one. I'd built, gone back to square one, and now got stripped in the most horrendous way I'm supposed to be done out here. I'm supposed to be done out here, bro. No career, no son. Bro, I ain't supposed to be sitting here with you, man.
And that's the thing that I find strengthening, is the fact that for me, the things that have happened to you, people would not get out of bed. People would consider maybe jacking it in. What you've done from that moment there, and I'm sure it wasn't an instantaneous thing, but how you've drived on with, you know, the Kai and Prince Foundation and the work that you've done with people to make awareness and bring awareness to kind of the problems that are going on in people's lives and pioneered forward. How did you get that strength and where did it come from?
I used all that negative energy. I used everything that I had. I cried out to the same creator that made me, that had purpose for my life. I cried out to him. And I said, I give up. I let go, basically. I let go. The things that I was chasing in life, the revenge I wanted for my son, I let it all go. I went like this, bro. I'm done. I'm done. What do you want from me? What do you want from me? Show me. I'm here. I'm here, innit? Because my feelings, these emotions of revenge and killing and planning to break his neck in court and all of this stuff, it's not gonna bear no fruit. It's not gonna do nothing for my kids. It's not gonna do nothing for me. It's not gonna, I become like the guy. I was angry with him and what he created and caused, and then I wanted to create and cause the same thing. Sense broke in, and I gave up. Said, whatever, man, I'm done. You take over. And when I said it, I was in a place of deep sorrow, deep sorrow. Court case number 2 had just got thrown out of court. My own family was pissed off with me because I said something to a juror, so they bunged the case out. And it was just messy. I was at my lowest. And there was no hope. So I cried out for the one person that there may be hope with. And it was the unseen God that people told me ain't real. That I was believed that, I was taught to believe that I wasn't created specially and a big bang and I came from a monkey and I came out millions of years, billions of years, and you know, there wasn't this personal creator that personally made me with purpose. And I contacted him. I contacted and reached out to a power higher than me because I realized no human could help me. This was a power that I needed that was like no other. And something happened at that moment that I can't explain. I can only share with people. And what happened is a light feeling. It was like I had things on my back as I was like this crying, and I became light and felt this floating light feeling like someone just took stuff off me, and the tears stopped. And I said, whew. I exhaled. Didn't know what that was about, but knew something happened. Couldn't explain it, but I began to see the reality of it when I went back to court for the 3rd trial, and I didn't have the same passion to kill, the same passion to screw the family, his mom, his dad, whoever was in there for him. I used to just snarl at them like, say something to me, I'm gonna break something. I'll be like that every day in court, and that was gone. Don't ask me how, don't ask me what, that was gone. So I was like, ooh, okay. And then because I remember saying to God, okay, show me what you got for me, what do I do? When the phone rang, when I started getting calls about appearing to do a talk at a school with parents and children, that was baffling. because why are you contacting me? Where'd you get my number? Where'd you get my contact details? You know, I'm not a speaker. I knock people out. I don't talk with people. Why you? So that was made me go, what's going on here? So then I remembered what I said to God and thought, I said, well, suppose there's a connection here somewhere. And remember, I'm not a religious man. I don't really do religion. My thing is staying connected, because then I don't get confused with what everybody else is doing and saying, because there's a lot of confusion out there, religion. Follow me, follow me, follow me. But then when you understand that there's a God that sent the man Christ Jesus to show you how to live, and when I've seen that this man's spent life looking after the oppressed, freeing people from all sorts of disease, oppression, illness, the system, and showing people how to love everybody else like yourself, I wanted to connect with that. So I connected with him, and when I said, you take over, and I saw these little signs, I took them as that, signs. So I said, I'll do it. I'll go to the school, I'll speak. I didn't know what to say, so I made a pact with my creator. And I like to refer to him as the manufacturer of human beings, because everything's manufactured. So I said to the manufacturer of human beings, okay, here's the deal. If this is you, then I'm not a speaker. I don't know what to say. You put it in me. When I open my mouth, I need you to let the words come out of my mouth that you want me to say. 'Cause I don't know how to do this. So that was my deal with God. But I never forget, I was at the back waiting to come out, and I shite myself. I was sweating. My palms, my mouth went dry. Bro, I was out there speaking, and I felt like I was doing this because words were getting stuck in my mouth. But I remembered reading a book, Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway. Get that book. I'll tell anyone with anxiety, fear issues, all of that, get the book, Feel the Fear, Do It Anyway, yeah? And I remembered, do it anyway. Don't try to, we try to tackle the fear. We try to get rid of the fear. We try to fight it. Yeah, I'm this, I'm strong, I'm not fearful. And we try to use all these words. No, bruv. Know you're scared. Accept you're scared. But know that there's a power that you want to achieve beyond fear. That fear, you will not allow fear to control, but you will dance with the fear. You'll roll with that fear. You'll say, okay, I'm scared, but whatever the fear and embarrassment fear brings out in me, it's not going to stop me. I'm going to do it still. So I went out there and I done it still. And I can't remember what I even talked about, but I do remember men, dads, mums coming up to me, embracing me, telling me how that impacted them, how it really helped them with what they're going through with their children, home, and just to be able to see what's going on with knife crime and whatnot. So obviously I addressed some of those issues because I was passionate about families. I was passionate about what's going on and how kids are carrying knives. And the kids came up to me and loved it. And these are primary school kids, so I thought, something's happened here. So I began to kind of buy into that maybe this is something that is what I'm supposed to be doing. And so I went along this journey, and beyond my expectations, the phone calls kept coming in, and I talked with Tracy about starting a charity. She said, go ahead, go for it. Do what you want to do, what you do. If you feel passionate about it, go for it, Mark. And I did. And while I was doing Put the Knives and Guns Down, which was a London Tonight special with Trevor McDonald, about the knives, and I done it with Chris Rogers. He was a journalist. It was a great piece. It was really powerful, and I got to spend time with other parents who had gone through what I'd gone through, and it really opened my eyes, and I began to go to solicitors and try to get them to help me to open up a charity and go through the legal process to get the charity opened. And everything's a challenge. So everything I've been through had an impact on the challenges that I faced in life. And because I'd not given up, because I'd been knocked down and got up and come back and won, and because I'd been knocked down in a fight and lost and woke up when the fight was over and all of that, I knew that it's okay. It's okay. It's okay to fail. It's okay, because failure ain't that until you give up. Failure is a learning lesson. We need to reframe our belief about failure. Reframe it and put a different story behind it and watch it empower you and to stop freezing you up, because that's what failure does. When you look at yourself as a failure, you're frozen. You're like you put yourself in the freezer. What can you do? You know, you can chill, put yourself in the fridge and let it chill you for a bit, but you got to defrost and come out and get back into action. You know, you can't allow it to freeze you up. And with that belief that failure means that you're nothing, you're nobody, you can't make it, you can't do it, it prevents you from moving on. It prevents you from moving on. And that's why I had to reframe this whole word failure. And I realized that you're not a failure. Okay, you didn't win that world title against Darius Mikuchowski. Don't mean you're a failure. So I came back stronger. I learned from him and I took on the jab that he put on me. I took that jab on and started to demonstrate a solid jab. It's like I added some of what he had to my toolbox to make myself a better fighter. Unfortunately, my career came to a short end, but then again, I did come back in 2013, and maybe, you know, when you're ready and in time, we could talk about that. But yeah, that's some of the things that helped me to keep going and to get through the mess that I was in. It was definitely God, but it was definitely understanding of the process of life. And without the understanding of the process of life, we give up. We throw in the towel. You know, that's why I love Fury's story. And I know it's boxing, but when I saw him go down, my first words was, God, raise him up. As I looked at the screen, I had to get him on his feet, God. I didn't believe that was Fury's end. I did not believe it for a second. And I went like this to the screen. And let me tell you something, bro. He's a believer. Because you can't be a believer and wake up from that knockdown. Come on now. I don't care whether you believe in God or not. It's irrelevant. When you see that, you know there's a God. The man said he believes in God. He woke up from a knockdown you've never seen. I've seen people get put to sleep with one of those combinations that Wilder threw. One. He threw the left hook, which is a finisher. It's a good night. Wake up in about half an hour. That's the left hook. But the other punch, the right hand, was enough. He didn't need the left hook, but then he got the left hook. Bro, Fury looked like he was in the grave. Done. He got up, bro, okay? That should show everybody that's me. That's a picture of me in life. I'm done. I've been abused. I'm done. I've been given up on. I'm done. My parents didn't look after me. I'm done. Someone got me into selling drugs on the roads, country lines. I'm done. There's no hope for me. I've got a criminal record. How am I going to become a businessman? How am I going to have a chance? I'm done. No, you're not done. You're not done, bro. It's the start. Reframe the story, bro. It's in our control to reframe our story. Why do we buy the story that we're given? Why do we give up on this gift called life so easily and allow the pain to stop us from moving on into our great future, man? We got this. We got control. We're a special creation. And we give up and we throw it away so easy. That's why I can't give up and I can't throw it away, because I realize that I'm special, that I'm made by a special power, and we all are, every single one of us. Look at the gift that you lot have got to come together and formulate this vision of creating something wonderful to give a platform for other people. What would we do without you three? Do you understand me? You've got a special place on this planet. What you do, there's loads of people doing it, but not like you. not like you and not like you. You do it your way. And that's what I want people to understand. There's no one on the planet like you. No one. They ain't got your DNA. They ain't got your fingerprints. They haven't got your tone, the way you do things. They're not like you. So you can't decide to throw in the towel and get out the game of life. You can't do that. You're robbing us of what you've been given, what's hidden inside you. There's a hidden leader in all of us. There's gifts in all of us. Why don't we tap into it? Forget what this world has taught us to fall in line, do as you're told. No, think for yourself, step out of line, feel that freedom and power of stepping out of line and saying, wait a minute, hold on, what you're saying doesn't make sense. What you're saying is not right. You're taking away my constitutional right to live life on my terms. And that's what benefits everybody else. We impact on everybody else's life by taking ownership of ours, by using our gifts and our talents, by treating everybody the way we like them to treat us. The problem is, bro, we're not loving ourselves. We ain't been taught to love ourselves.
How do you do that?
Bro, you have to know who you are first. You have to recognize who I am and accept that you're loved. That means you love you. By reframing that story, that everything that you've told yourself about life, how you got dealt with, how growing up was, or your relationships, all the stories you told yourself that end up being with a negative outcome, reframe it and give it a new outcome that benefits you and empowers you. I reframe my dad's story, and my dad don't love me. Look at the way he beats me. Look what he does to me. He don't love me, don't care about me. I reframed it. Dad needs help. Dad's unfortunate because he didn't get to enjoy the blessings of young men that came out of his seed and grew up into grown men. My dad had 3 kings. He didn't know there was a champion in his nutsack. He didn't know that. My mum didn't know she had 3 kings coming out of her womb. So unless you do the job right, then you're gonna find out. My dad got his part wrong. But that doesn't mean if I don't walk in the right steps in believing in myself that I can't still bear fruit and find out who I really am. Daddy didn't show me, but I showed me because I believed and understood that I'm a special created being. That's very important to have great self-esteem. Forget the esteem that others put on you because normally they don't. We need to put esteem on ourselves. And what do we do when we hear people talking positively about themselves? Oh, he's arrogant. You know, he thinks too much of himself. No, he doesn't. You know, what's wrong with talking about how much you love yourself? Because you can only love people at the level that you love yourself, bro. You can't love me more than you love you. You can't. So all these people that talk about, I love you, really? Do you love yourself? The question isn't do you love me? It's do you love you? Once I know you love you, bruv, I already know that I'm gonna receive good love and good treatment from you. Because I know that you love and respect yourself. You're not gonna get a knife and hurt you. You're not gonna do anything to abuse your body. You're not gonna hurt other people like that because you care about yourself. You care about your children and your family. It's an expression of you. So we need to focus on ourselves first. I needed to focus on me, how I was dealing with me, and then I was able to go to the children. If I didn't forgive Hanad, I'm gonna meet other Hanads. I'm gonna meet other Hanads who done just what he done. They might not be Hanads, but they're just like him. Why? Because they share the same mindset. That's what connects us, mindset. So from I love me, you love you, that means that we all wanna do positive things in life. We all wanna share and help people. So now this world's gonna be a greater place because of the way we think. You wanna change the quality of your life? Change the quality of your thinking. Remember what my thinking was like on the roads? You can't be a businessman. You can't make it out there. You can't make 6 figures in life. Those jobs aren't for you. That was my belief. So look at all my mates, they're robbing, they're selling drugs. Let me go and roll out with them and do the same thing. Because what choice do I have? Look at my ends. Look at my ends. Look at everyone in my ends. You know, maybe only a couple of people make it with being an athlete or whatever, but that's not me. That's all the shared mindset. Do you think all these guys joining gangs and all that really, really want to be on it? It's because they don't believe. It's their mindset, bruv. They've decided to throw in their chips, all their beliefs that they are somebody and that they could make it, and go with the easy route. And it's not really easy because it brings loads of pain. So it's not even easy. They just think it looks easy because it doesn't require discipline and sacrifice. But you know what? We can't escape that. Because even in the hustling world, if you're not disciplined to hustle and make money, you're not making no money. So you can't escape discipline, whether it's bad or using it for bad or using it for good. You can't escape it. I had to be disciplined. I had to get up in the morning. I had loads of gyros. We called it gyros back then. Loads of checks and stuff that I had to go and cash. Had to go and pretend I was this guy and that guy. I had to get up early, crack of dawn, get in the bank, get in the post office, do whatever I had to do to get it done. If I had no discipline, I'd miss out on the opportunity. So you can't escape it. Whether you're trying to think there's the quick route or the easy or hard, no matter what you call it, bruv, there's only evil and good path. Whatever you decide to do, you're still going to require discipline, sacrifice, planning. All those things are still required. So if you're going to do it, decide if you're going to do it for bad or decide if you're going to do it for good. But I want everyone to be aware of what they're doing. I'm not going to tell them what to do. Who am I to tell people what to do? I just want to know that you're aware of the costs of what you're doing. There's a cost to everything you do. There's a cost to riding out with your brethren. There's a cost to carrying a knife. When you pick up your mobile, you pick up your knife. There's a cost to deciding to box your girl. If you have an argument, there's a cost, bro. Have you counted the cost? And I'll tell you what, bro, most people don't count the cost. It's the same as being a professional boxer, being a champion. There's a cost. Count the cost, bro. You might not be able to go and jam out with your friends. I used to hate summer at one time. Summertime meant I couldn't be chilling with my brethren on the corner because I'd be in the gym, bro. I'd be sweating buckets in the gym. I'd miss out on the fun. But guess what, bro? Who was clamoring to come and see me when it was fight time? Who was claiming that that's my brethren when Sky TV come and aired my fights? Do you know what I'm saying? Who wanted to be like me now? It was, you know, the tables turned because the cost of the sacrifice I paid was wonderful. My rewards were wonderful. The rewards for doing bad things are not wonderful. Count the costs: broken families, broken homes, death, jail time, people just wasted their lives with a messed up mind. The cost of giving up.
I love what you said about counting the cost. There's a lot of things there which you said to me which really resonate, especially the love. Once you love yourself, how can you expect others to love you when you can't even tell you love yourself? I think once you get to that mindset and that awakening, then you can go to the world in a correct way for people to love you, and it shouldn't be arrogant to say that you feel great about yourself. Another thing that you said that really kind of
Beautiful.
that really buzzed me was the feeling of the fear.
Yeah.
I've had that. Your brother.
Yeah.
I was your brother. So I boxed, but the nerves got to me. And I'm no ashamed of saying that.
Yeah.
But the feeling of fear, embracing the fear, saying I'm scared.
Yeah.
But it's okay to be scared.
It's okay.
What did you get from that book and how did you embrace it? How did you apply it to your day-to-day life?
I had to. The line that stood out was the fact that I could feel that fear. It was fine. And I could still get done what I needed to do and wanted to and desired to do. I could still do it. Because what I talked about before is fear makes you freeze. And it makes you feel that you can't do it. So what helped me to escape from that mental jail was the fact that I realized when I read the book, really, it doesn't matter how it turns out. The fact that I felt it, I could still carry on and get the outcome. Even if I said, man, I pooped myself when I was out there, but no one found out. No one knew, but I did. It was that bad. You know, I stammered over my words and people giggled, but I still done it. That's the reward. That's the great part of this. And what happens? My mum always said, son, what don't kill you is gonna make you stronger. So every time I faced fear, I got stronger. Every time I went out, and boy, I had a love-hate relationship with boxing. Because when it was fight time, I used to wonder, why are you doing this job? I used to hate boxing. I'm sure other fighters have gone through the same thing. Mike Tyson used to get all emotional, crying, stuff like that, nerves kicking in and all of that. I used to go through that as well. But when that bell went, boy, you just dealt with business because you trained yourself to perform in a certain way. And because of that training, you're gonna go out and you can only do what your training allowed you to do. Because I knew that, okay, this goes part and parcel with the territory. Let me accept it and let me keep it moving. And I became WBO, IBF Intercontinental Champion because I kept going back in the ring, feeling that fear and doing it anyway.
So you just faced up to it every time?
Face up to it, and that was minor compared to what I had to face up to later on. Minor. In fact, that helped me because when I made my comeback in 2013, boxing was an absolute pleasure. There was no more worrying and distress and fear, no more, it was all gone. Why? Because I dealt with something even more fearful. I dealt with something that was my worst nightmare. So how are you gonna scare me now, bro? How? I saw my son, bro. I saw my son. That scarred me for life. Now I've held my mum's hand and breathed the last with her. July the 4th. Bro, what's scared? What was scared about what, bruv? I've gone through it. I held my baby's coffin like this small, just me one. And put it down. Broke my heart. Died in his mum's womb. 6 months in the going, had to still give birth. I've gone through stuff. I know death. I know fear. I know pain. I know pain. But we run away from it all. We run away from it all. So how are we going to share the experience and empower other people if we keep running or we want to take our life and bloody do ourselves in? Bro, we got massive stories to help others. This is a messed up world with beautiful people. Remember, we all got choice. Imagine if we all made the choice to live for good. Bun religion. Just choose to live for good. How about that? Don't deceive another man. Don't hurt another man or woman. Don't lie to another person. Don't do these things. If we all decide to live like that, what a planet, bro. That means we're not gonna hurt animals. That means we're not gonna grieve the earth and the planet and destroy it. We have destroyed this planet. We've destroyed all the beautiful things that God's made. Wrecking it, all for self-gain. All for self-gain. Thank God for the beautiful people that are still on the planet. And may they continue to have an impact on this earth because God, do we need them? Do we need more people to stand up for truth and stand up for righteousness, right doing, instead of putting their own gains and wants ahead of others?
You said something to me there which for me is probably one of the best pieces of advice I've ever heard, because it doesn't matter who you are, doesn't matter where you come from or what religion you're part of or what culture your background is. If you choose to live for good, just making that choice to live, everybody knows the difference between bad and good.
Totally.
And everybody can choose to live for good.
Yes.
You have been through some immense amount of pain. Like, your story is built upon successes and a lot of pain. And you could choose to live for bad, but you've chosen to live for good, especially in the latter years of your life.
Yeah.
And that has kind of been rewarded in some ways that we haven't spoke about, but you got an MBE, member of the British Embassy.
Yeah, it was actually an OBE.
Was it an OBE?
Yeah, I'm not quite sure what the difference is between the two, but I know that they gave me an OBE in 2019.
And a doctorate, so now you're a doctor.
Yeah, they gave me an honorary doctorate, and I suppose it's about the years of work that you put in to be able to get an honorary doctorate, because I remember when they announced that they've been watching me for 10 years and the work that I've been putting in for the 10 years, and it was like, wow, okay. and they talked about them giving Dr. Martin Luther King the same honorary doctorate as well, for his contribution on this planet. I think that's one of the most important human needs, because we all have human needs, and contribution is one of them. And that's one of the most important, contribution. What have you contributed back to society? And the only way you can do that is if you make yourself of value. So what value have you placed on yourself? And forget money. You notice I'm not talking about money. We know money's important, but money comes on the back of you putting value on yourself. You can put value on yourself by educating yourself. You can put value on yourself by developing a skill. You can put value on yourself by utilizing your gifts. There's many ways of putting value on yourself. Helping people adds value to you. You know, you want to help people that are less fortunate than you. You've just added value to yourself. You know, and you draw people to you because of that. More people want to do what you're doing and know you, and then your platforms are developed and your influence is developed, and people want you because you have value. So I'd say to young people, if you want to feel a part of society, put value on yourself. You know, a guy can speak, he can spit bars, he's put value on himself. Next minute the media want him. Next minute a company, a music company wants to sign him. But they didn't just do that for no reason. They've done it because he's added value to society.
This might be a hard question for you,
Yeah.
because you know you've been through immense amount of different stuff. So to narrow it down to one specific answer might be just too much. But as best as you can, after everything you've been through, you spoke a lot of truth here. You gave so much great pieces of advice.
Yeah.
But one piece of advice you could give to somebody that you think was the most important to you through your whole journey, what would it be?
It sounds really simple, but it's so powerful, because we all come to a point in our life where we feel to give up, and the only way we're going to actually make it in life is being consistent. Consistency. I've battled with that my whole life. I battled with being consistent. Everyone wants to start stuff and they get excited. I started this new business. I started training. I joined the gym. I've done this, I've done that. It's not the start. You get excited about completion. Most people don't complete what they've began. So what's the most valuable place on the planet? The cemetery, bro. Unfulfilled dreams, unfulfilled purposes, inventions that never came to bear fruit, people that had ideas that never came to life, maybe presidents, maybe prime ministers, maybe big businessmen are lying in the grave, never realize their true potential. Maybe singers never realized songs that we never got to hear. Poems that were never written. Never hit books that we never got to read. Because you didn't stay consistent. You began, you fell away, you let life get to you, you let disappointments get to you, you didn't reframe things to empower you to move forward and finish the race. Finish the race. Have a vision, a plan, and finish the race that was given to you.
That's amazing. Thank you for your time today. You could drop some absolute bombs of knowledge. After this interview, it's definitely had an effect on me, something that I'll definitely take away, but I do really appreciate your time. Man,
I appreciate you guys. You guys are wonderful. Great atmosphere, great platform for me to be able to speak on. I really hope that it reaches many people and they get something from it for their own lives. Because my whole purpose here is to not allow pain to just stay as pain. We bury people, we go through pain, and then we just cry. But where are the lessons we learned to change our life? Where are the people that we've impacted because we've been through pain? I don't just want to go through pain and just say, oh, just cry. It's got to mean something. And the only way it can mean something is if I share it and give it to someone and let them know, look, man, I got through this. You can too. So thank you, man.
It's fire.
Really appreciate you guys.
Do you, I want to just do one more thing.